Welcome to the XenServer channel, where today we'll be walking through the process of installing XenServer on your bare metal server. XenServer is a Type 1 or bare metal hypervisor, which means it installs directly on your server and acts as an operating system. Before getting started, let's check that your server hardware supports XenServer. You need an Intel VT or AMD V 64-bit x86-based server class system with one or more CPUs. We recommend that these are 2 GHz or faster multi-core CPUs. Your server also needs at least 2 GB of RAM, but we recommend 4 GB or more. The XenServer Hardware Compatibility List, or HCL, provides a searchable database of hardware supported by XenServer. Use the HCL to verify that your server is supported. Download the XenServer installation ISO from xenserver.com/downloads. Verify the downloaded media by checking its SHA-256 checksum against the one provided on the web page. For example, on Windows you can do this by using the certutil command. Now that you have your installation media, you need to get it onto the server that you want to install. There are a number of ways to do this. If you have physical access to your server, you can burn the installation ISO file to a CD or use it to create a bootable USB. Otherwise, you can mount the ISO as virtual media or host its contents on your network. To learn more about any of these options, refer to your server hardware documentation and to the XenServer installation documentation. For this installation, I'll be installing from virtual media on a server that I have remote access to. Because XenServer installs directly on your server, it will overwrite any operating system or data that was previously installed there. Ensure that you back up any data that you need to keep before you begin your installation. After you've made the installation media accessible to your server, reboot the server. Access the boot menu. You're usually prompted to do this during the boot process by pressing one of the function keys. Which function key it is, I think, depends on your hardware, so check with your hardware vendor's documentation for more information. In the boot menu, direct the server to boot from the installation media that you set up. The installer shows you a menu. Select the top item, Install. If you don't make a selection, this option is automatically selected after a short time. After some startup message, you'll see the installer welcome screen. Choose a keyboard layout to use during the installation. Throughout the installation, you can quickly move to the next screen by pressing F12. Use Tab to move between elements and Space or Enter to select. You can press F1 at any time for general help. At this point, you're offered the option to install additional hardware drivers. You can also choose to set up boot from SAN from this screen. I'm not opting to do either of these, so I select OK to move on. Review the XenServer end-user agreement and indicate whether you accept it. You must accept the agreement to proceed with the installation. On the next page of the installer, you're shown a number of options depending on the state of your server. For example, if you have an earlier version of XenServer installed, you might be given the option to upgrade that version or to restore it from backup. Upgrading from an older version to a newer one has the advantage of retaining data from a previous XenServer installation, such as the system time and the network configuration. In this case, I want to do a fresh installation, so I select Perform Clean Installation and then choose OK to continue. I'm using a server with a single local hard disk, but if you have multiple local hard disks, at this point you're prompted to choose a primary disk for the installation. Next, choose which disk to use for virtual machine storage. You can also choose whether to use thin provisioning to optimize the use of available storage. This option is recommended if you're using XenServer to host virtual desktops. At the next page, select your installation media source. For installations from CD, DVD, USB, or virtual media, choose Local Media and then OK to continue. Installing from the network is also an option, and you can find out more about this in our documentation. Choose whether to verify the integrity of the installation media. The verification process calculates the SHA-256 checksum of the packages and checks them against the known values. Set the root password for the server. This is also the password that the XenServer Management Console uses to connect to the XenServer host. The password must contain only ASCII characters. Ensure that you keep a record of this password in the Secure Password Management tool. While you can reset this password if you forget it, doing so requires you to access the server directly. You can't reset a forgotten password through XenServer or through XenCenter. Set up the primary management interface that is used to connect to the XenServer Management Console. If your computer has multiple NICs, select the NIC that you want to use for management. The next few sections of the installer ask you to set up various networking configurations. You can do this either automatically by using DHCP, or you can manually specify the values you need. For ease, I'll be selecting DHCP for my install, but the values that you'll enter here depend on the configuration of your networking infrastructure. Configure the management NIC IP address. To have the management interface on a VLAN network, provide the VLAN ID. To be part of a pool, XenServer hosts must have a static IP address or be DNS addressable. When using DHCP, ensure that a static DHCP reservation policy is in place. Specify the hostname for your XenServer host. If you manually specify the hostname, enter a short hostname and not the fully qualified domain name. Entering a fully qualified domain name can cause problems with external authentication, such as Active Directory. Specify the DNS configuration. If you're providing this information manually, you must provide the IP address for at least one DNS server, and you can specify up to 3. Next, select your time zone. First choose your geographical area, then select a city. Type the first letter of the city's name to jump to that part of the list. Choose whether to set up NTP or to enter the time manually. XenServer assumes that the server time is set to the current time in UTC. We recommend that you use the NTP protocol to set your time and to specify one or more reliable NTP servers. When this is done, choose OK to proceed. That's all the configuration complete. Select Install XenServer. This starts the installation process, which can take a little while. The next screen asks if you want to install any supplemental packs. I'm not going to do that today, so I choose No here. If you're interested in supplemental packs, the XenServer documentation has information about what they do and how to install them. And that's it. We've reached the installation complete screen. Eject your installation media and select OK to reboot the server. After the server reboots, XenServer displays a system configuration console known as XS Console. This console displays the XenServer host's IP address. You can use this IP address or the host name you specified earlier to connect to this host from XenCenter. Now you've installed XenServer, what's next? If you haven't already, you can install the XenServer Management Console on a Windows system, and then maybe use it to create your first VM. Please leave a comment letting us know what other XenServer tasks you'd like to see a video for. If you've enjoyed this video, subscribe for more XenServer content.